Today we're going to talk about equations with variables on both sides. We've got an equation here, 1 plus 4x is equal to negative 7 plus 8x. When we're solving for an equation, our goal is to isolate the variable on one side of the equation so that we can solve for it. It doesn't matter which side of the equation that our x or any variable ends up on. The variable could be on the left-hand side, it could be on the right-hand side. In this case, we've got variables on both sides. So the first thing we want to do is, if we don't have any like terms to combine, and we don't in this case, we want to go ahead and pick which variable we want to deal with first. I find that it's always better to look at your coefficients. So we've got an 8 and a 4. And to work with the variable that has the smaller coefficient. The reason for this is that when we use our inverse operations, in general, we'll end up with a variable that has a positive coefficient, which just makes it easier when we're solving it. You make less mistakes. So I'm going to start with this plus 4x, because I'm also looking at the sign in front of the coefficient. Plus 4x, and don't forget I want to put a line down here for my equal sign. So I'm going to do the inverse of plus 4x, and I am going to subtract 4x from both sides. So on this left-hand side, those cancel out, and I'm left with just a 1. And on the right-hand side, I still have that negative 7 and a positive 8x minus 4x gives us a positive 4x. So now we're down to a two-step equation. I'm going to put a box around my variable and the coefficient. I'm going to use my inverse operations. I've got a negative 7, so I'm going to add 7 to both sides. That leaves me with a 4x over here and an 8. I then want to get rid of my coefficient. I'm going to divide by 4, which is going to give me x. I'm going to divide by 4, which is going to give me 2. So we end up with x is equal to 2. Let's look at another one. We've got negative 6m minus 8 is equal to 3 plus 5m. There are no like terms for me to combine, so I'm going to look at my variables on both sides. I've got a negative 6m, and I've got a positive 5m, negative 6m. Negative 6 is the smaller coefficient, so I am going to deal with that side first. I am going to put my line down, and I'm going to do the inverse of a negative 6m. I'm going to add 6m to both sides. These are going to cancel, and I'm going to be left with a negative 8, and on this side I'm going to have 3 plus 11m. Now, I certainly could have dealt with the 5m first, and I would have subtracted 5m to do the inverse operation, and then a negative 6 minus 5m, which would have left me with a negative 11m, which is perfectly fine, but then we have a negative coefficient, and a lot of times we'll make mistakes when we're dividing back through with a negative coefficient. So I always try to keep my coefficients positive, if possible. Now we're back down to a two-step equation. Put a box around my positive 11m plus 11m. I'm going to do the inverse of this positive 3. I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. That's going to cancel. I'm going to be left with an 11m on this side. Negative 8 minus 3 is negative 11. And then I'm going to get rid of my coefficient. I'm going to divide by 11. I'm going to be left with an m. These will cancel. I'm going to divide by 11 and be left with negative 1. So m is equal to negative 1.